nothing will ever prepare anyone for the loss of a baby. It's completely different to the loss of any of our loved ones, because we've not only lost our baby, we've lost all of the dreams and hopes that we've imagined that's going to come. The trauma's real and the loss is real, and it will stay with you forever. And if I can help someone through that time, that's huge.
I fell pregnant in 2011. I was very happy and excited, and I realised that I was going to be a single mum, but I was happy to embrace that challenge. My journey took a different turn quite early on. Actually, it changed at that 12-week scan stage. I found out that there was potentially a problem with the baby, so that merited a little bit of further investigation, but I had to quickly readjust my expectations from that I fully expected to have a normal pregnancy, a normal birth and a healthy child, to saying, okay, I might actually have a child with additional needs. And the good news then that followed on from that was that when they did the further investigations, what they actually found was that my son had Down syndrome, which actually was the best probably of the potential outcomes. And I was booked in for a scan. They like to do a heart scan for babies with Down syndrome. So I went for that scan with my mum, and they did the ultrasound, and my mum was sat to the side of me, and the doctor came and had a look, and he moved this probe around a bit more, and they had a look, and he tapped me on the inside of my leg. I was lying down. He tapped me on the inside of my leg and he said, "Bad news, Mum. There's no heartbeat." And I wasn't expecting that. In the moment, shock rescued me, because actually I didn't feel anything in that moment. I was numb. I was advised that the next stage of the process would be to be given some tablets to try to induce the birth, and that I might miscarry at home. I was told I might miscarry spontaneously at any point between that moment and going into hospital, which of course I was not at all prepared for. I was 18 weeks pregnant, so I was well into the second trimester. I was showing, so we went in. It was Saturday the 14th of April 2012, which is a day you don't forget. I fully expected to be pushing a pushchair around a park with the baby in it. I can remember walking around Christchurch Park in the springtime, talking to my baby in my tummy, as people do when they're pregnant, pointing out the flowers and things like that, thinking and saying, I'll bring you back here and we'll play in the play park and we'll feed the ducks and we'll look at the flowers. I just remember thinking, that isn't going to be me now. My baby's died.
Up until a year ago, anyone that had a baby loss prior to 24 weeks, their birth wasn't recognised, their baby wasn't nationally recognised. There was a report done by Zoe Clarks-Coates, who was very, very heavy in supporting that report that went to the government, and they have now rolled out that families who have a pregnancy loss to any gestation can apply for a pregnancy recognition certificate. So yes, it's not a legal documentation, but it gives those families recognition that their baby belonged and their baby existed. And that's massive, because baby loss will stay with them for the rest of their life.
We had started buying things for Oscar, so we'd bought his pram, we'd bought a cot, and it was exciting. We were talking about him playing football. Where would he go? His dad was really excited about taking him to the football pitch, to his first Arsenal game. There's this kind of notion in society that past 12 weeks, everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be grand. You share the news with everyone, so what could possibly go wrong? In July 2023, I gave birth to Oscar, who was born prematurely at 23 weeks. Unfortunately, his lungs were too little for him to survive. He stayed with us for 8 hours and then sadly passed away in our arms. And there's nothing like it. You come home and there's just this empty hole. The world is still happening outside. People are still walking past the door. People are still posting on social media their happy birthdays. They're going on holiday. And your world has just crumbled and stopped. And you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You've become a mum and a dad, but you come home with a box instead of a baby.
So this is a memory box that I created. It's every single moment of Zachary's life that I was able to keep and hold on to. These are my scan pictures. That's the birth certificate, which I felt was really important because it acknowledges the existence of a life. Goodness me, I definitely can't read this. This is a letter I wrote to Zachary. I'd forgotten that was in there. I wrote that on the 6th of April. That was the day after I'd found out he died. I couldn't hold him, I couldn't feed him, I couldn't nurture him in the way that I had anticipated and intended. But what I could do was create this, and I felt in some way wrapping up the items, taking care of it, making it as beautiful as I could. It was the closest I could get to looking after my child.
When Oscar died, I was really encouraged to start journaling through our therapist, but I couldn't find a journal or anything that was rightly fitting. So I created these journals, and we now provide these to our families in our support packs. One of the things that I really wanted to do was write every year on Oscar's birthday what we did, how we celebrated him. In there, families can write all about their babies. They can write milestones, they can write letters to them, they can write thoughts, they can write about their precious memories. They can write about the moments that they shared with their babies. After you lose a baby, you're never the same person that you once were. This is the bear that he had beside him in his cold cot, and he had a duplicate put in his coffin with him when we had him cremated. So he has one to keep him nice and snuggly, and then we have one as well. I love this picture because you can just see the top of his head and his little nose. It's so special.
The small things make such a huge difference in their healing journey. They'll never heal. Their pain will be there forever. But life, with the right support, will start to grow around that pain.
We have helped over 50 families since we started Little Wings just over 2 years ago. Baby loss doesn't just impact the bereaved parents. It does impact the wider family, siblings, friends. You don't really truly see the pain and the heartache that they are having because they were excited to be an adopted auntie. It has a domino effect on everybody involved, and it's really important to remember that.
You know, hundreds of thousands of lives every year are impacted, unfortunately, by baby loss. And that's probably the hardest thing for the onlookers, is that they're feeling their own pain, they're feeling their own grief. They don't really want to articulate it because they know it's nothing compared to yours and they don't want to diminish yours. And that's the thing. And you think, it even impacts your colleagues. People don't know what to say. They don't know how to deal with the sort of perhaps emotion around it, or what's the appropriate thing, or they're scared of saying the wrong thing, and it's quite understandable. There is no right thing to say. But you don't necessarily expect that it's even going to impact on not even your closest work colleagues, but, work colleagues that are perhaps a little bit into that wider sphere.
We spend 40 hours a week with each other in the workplace, talking to one another. That is more than what you probably spend with your other half, friends or family. At work, we need to open up those conversations. We need to make people feel comfortable, and we need managers and leaders to understand how to support employees.
The culture I'm trying to create in my workplace and the culture which I want to embed and to develop in the workplace is one where people can be their true and authentic self at work. It's one where we recognise that people are whole people, that we don't come to work and leave the rest of ourselves at the door. And so for me, that's something that's quite important about creating really inclusive, safe workspaces.
To anybody who is experiencing a loss or knows somebody that is experiencing a loss, please don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Please don't suffer alone. Always try and get some support from someone. If it's a bereavement midwife, the SANS helpline, friend or family member, just talk to somebody.
Although this will never be okay. There will never be a day when you will say it's okay that my child died. There will be a day when it doesn't dominate your thinking from the minute you wake up in the morning till the minute you go to sleep at night. And gradually, the distances and the spaces between the sad and difficult thoughts will get longer until the point where you will be able to enjoy life again.